Hello, this is Dr. Marty Klein with more sexual intelligence. I've been doing sex therapy over 40 years. Perhaps you've watched my videos or read my blog posts about the many ways in which sex therapy can succeed. Well, today I want to describe what it looks like when sex therapy fails. Let's talk about Deepak. Deepak is a nice enough guy. He's in his mid 30s, Silicon Valley software engineer, married 3 years to Nikki, a researcher. They had both come here from India from graduate school, and they stayed afterwards. He was recently referred to me by a well known urologist at Stanford Medical Center. One of my specialties is Deepak's exact complaint: unreliable erections. Now that we've had 4 sessions together, I'm pretty sure he'll be disappointed with the results of our work. That's because we still disagree on what his problem actually is. As he put it, I go to have sex, and sometimes I get hard, but other times I don't. The urologist at Stanford said you could help me. Well, of course, I understand his frustration, and I told him it didn't mean that he and his wife couldn't have sex. Yes, I know we can do other things, he said, but they're not real sex. My wife doesn't get full satisfaction from them. It turned out that she didn't get full satisfaction from those alternatives to intercourse because she believed that she was causing his erection difficulties. She says that if she were more beautiful, I wouldn't have this problem, Deepak said. Did Deepak agree? No, he said. The problem is me. I'm not powerful enough in sex. Sometimes I'm weak in sex. I tried to describe how their expectations and interpretations were driving their frustrating experiences, which was my definition of his and their problem. He kept saying he understood, but then would say, but, and then he would reiterate his beliefs and hers. I explained the way arousal works. The nervous system sends messages to the blood vessels to engorge the genitalia, but you need the right circumstances. The brain has to interpret some stimulation as sexual: a touch, a smell, a visual image, and a person has to maintain their focus on arousing stimuli. However, the nervous system can carry other messages simultaneously, which can cancel out the sexual messages. Those other messages could include guilt, shame, anxiety, anger, and feeling alone or misunderstood. So, again, Deepak said he understood that, but then he told me why that wasn't helpful. I asked if their parents were pressuring them to have grandchildren. Of course, he said. I asked if they wanted kids, but the question didn't quite make sense to him. This is how Indian families work, he said. We will have children. We must have children. Since he became erect about half the time they wanted to have sex, I asked him to compare. Put all the sex that was designed to conceive, given her ovulation schedule, in one group, and all the other sex when they knew they couldn't conceive in a second group. In general, were his erections more similar between the two groups or more different? Pretty smart, I think. They were more different, he said. Let me guess, I said. Your erections are more reliable in that second non-conceiving group of sexual encounters, right? He was impressed by my awesome predictive powers. The connection between the pressure of conception and his wobbly erection had not occurred to them. So I said, this is what I mean about the nervous system carrying two messages at once. You kiss her, she touches your penis, and you want sex. That ordinarily leads to erection. But when you two are desperate to conceive, you feel pressure, shame, and fear that you'll fail. In your nervous system, that second message creates communication noise that interferes with the sexual message. Then your penis isn't driven to become erect. Quite the contrary. Pretty clear, I thought. Not clear enough, however. So he said, yeah, but what's wrong that so many times we can't have sex? She's ready, but I can't. Or worse, she's ready, and I say I'm too tired, I have to work, because I'm afraid, this is Deepak talking now, because I'm afraid that if I say yes, I'll fail again. I can't stop worrying that I'll fail. Well, you got to sympathize with this guy, trapped in a prison of his own making. Yeah, culturally appropriate, but still his own making. And every session of therapy, multiple times, he would ask me, sometimes tearfully, what should I do? I taught him about breathing exercises to relax when he felt pressured. I taught him visualizations for when he obsessed on failure. I encouraged him to see sex as play rather than as a project, to see his wife as a partner rather than as a critic, to see the goal as pleasure rather than conception. It just didn't stick. So I tried one more approach. What do you two do when you lose your erection when you want to have intercourse? I asked, confident that I knew the answer. He answered in some generalities, and I asked for specifics, minute by minute specifics. As I expected, erectile disappointment was followed by apologies, excuses, each of them blaming themselves, and the occasional quarrel. It wasn't just the month-by-month hassle from their parents he wanted to avoid. It was the more immediate ugly scene after failing that he wanted to avoid. There was pressure everywhere he turned. So I asked him, when you don't get an erection, does she still love you? Well, yeah, of course she did. And does she say she'll want sex with you again, even though she was disappointed now? Yes, of course she did. And do you sleep in the same bed after this disappointment? Yes, they did. And do you feel confident that soon you will see her body again and you'll be able to touch her and smell her? Yes, again. Well, I said gently, when you don't get an erection, it sounds like you could celebrate your sexual connection rather than turning it into a failure. In your 20s, before you married, remember they were both virgins at their wedding, in your 20s before you married, wouldn't such a situation seem like heaven, hugging and kissing a lovely nude woman who said she loved you, even agreeing that you'd be doing it again soon, and then going to sleep together? A nice image. But Deepak did not find it comforting. What should I do? He asked again. So I gave him my last shot. I said, take 3 months off from trying to conceive. You deserve 90 days of no pressure, no fail sex. As we've seen, you're way more likely to get erections when you aren't trying to conceive. And tell both sets of parents, we're taking a break from creating a child and we'll be back at it next spring. Well, he said the parents wouldn't go for it, and anyway, it shouldn't be necessary. But most of all, he said, in 3 months, he predicted he'd be back in the same spot, failing to get erect when they resumed trying for a child. I briefly explained that he wouldn't be in the same spot because he wouldn't be the same person after 3 months of no pressure, no fail sex. Well, that was not helpful. And I wasn't surprised. So I think next session will be our last. I don't want to waste his money or reinforce the idea that he's damaged goods. And so he will be disappointed with the results of our work, and I will be too. Well, that's sexual intelligence for today. Thanks for joining me. Oh, I drop one of these videos every 3 or 4 weeks. So if you want to subscribe and be notified when I do a new one, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and you'll be hearing from me pretty soon. I'm Dr. Marty Klein. Thanks for joining me.